Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. That's Central Time Zone, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on Abundance Television Syndicated. That's found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Continue sending emails. Donna at donnasedge.com. Donna at donnasedge.com. Everybody's favorite talk show host, sports talk show host, is with me right now, and that's AP Steadham. Hey, AP, it's been so wonderful to have you all these years.
Hey, thank you, Donna. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me all these years.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's been a long time. You know, the show's been going on now for over 20 years.
Oh, my God.
But I had never had a sportscaster as a guest before, and you started out as a guest. Right. And so people liked you so much, they kept saying, when are you going to have that guy back on? When are you going to have that guy back on? So that's where it all happened. But thank you, AP, so much for being with me all this time. Well, you got some things you want to talk about. College football, man, I can't wait. I'm biting at the bit. I want to see all games.
Yeah, Donna, you know, everybody is so concerned about their team and the times the games will start. So last week on our show, AP As We See, we delved into the announcement of some of the times. And Donna, they have a new system now, what they call the time zones. They've named them. The early game will be between 11 and 12. And I'm doing Central Time, 11 and 12 Central. The afternoon between 2:30 and 3:30. That's the start time, I should clarify. And then the nighttime started between 5 and 7. And then they have what's called flex. If there's a flex next to the game, that means that it could be the afternoon start time of 2:30 to 3:30, as we mentioned, or the nighttime between 5 and 7. So just to let you know, when you're looking at your team schedule and you're saying, what is flex? What is flex? Well, that's flex, afternoon or night. But the early schedule will start between 11 and 12 Central on those games. Some of the bigger games, now we're not going to give you all of them, but they did announce, for instance, Texas travels to Ohio State on August 30th. That's a early game, 11 a.m. Central. Then you have a game like Michigan and at Oklahoma. That's on the September 6th. That's at 6:30 p.m. Auburn at Baylor. Donna, that's an interesting. That game is Friday night in Waco, Texas. Friday night in Waco, Texas. That game is to be played. So, and then you have Alabama and Florida State. That should be a 2:30 start. That's August 30th. Then we have Syracuse, who had a 10-win season last year, playing Tennessee. That's in Atlanta. That's a neutral site. Of course, that's going to be filled of all kind of orange. Orange from Syracuse, orange from Tennessee, right? 11 a.m. Central. Then you have Virginia Tech at South Carolina. That's in Atlanta. That's on the 31st of August. But those are some of the interesting non-conference games and some of the start times for these ball games. But that's the most fun for me, Donna. All the non-conference games. If you're playing a team that had a pretty successful season or has a successful program, maybe they didn't do as well last year, but they're projecting to be better this year. So those are nice teams to play. Michigan, Ohio State, Baylor, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. Those are just some of them. I know Alabama plays Wisconsin down the road as well, but those non-conference games, those are so entertaining because sometimes they have rarely played or maybe never played. And maybe it's the first time they're visiting that school. You know, maybe I think this is the first time. I believe Michigan is probably traveling to Norman, Oklahoma, I believe. Texas has been to Ohio State in the past. Yeah, at least once that I know, maybe twice, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any new news about the SEC conference as far as ball games, coaches, players, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, one thing that's come up, Donna, that is we spoke last week on the show about the House settlement for the SEC. So that's the $20.5 million worth of money that can be allocated to the schools. And the SEC, they're trying to figure out, each school has their own preference. Will it be 75% to the football, 15% to the men's basketball, 5% to the women's basketball? They're trying to figure it all out. Then the other thing, Donna, that was been coming up, it's kind of surprising, I think, is the fact that you have the selection committee. 13 people they're on the selection committee to pick the 12 teams this year. Moving forward after this year, it's probably going to be 16 teams. But there was some displeasure with having the 13-person committee. And some people are saying we want to go back to the computers. Well, they didn't like the computers before. That's why they switched to the committee. So I think the committee, Donna, you have more flexibility. Because if you start with that computer and you have these formulas, and you insert the numbers and it comes out a certain way, that's it. There's no deviation. Whereas if you have a committee, you can keep voting and say, okay, we'd like to do this vote one more time. Maybe as the committee chair, Lieutenant Rich Clark, he's the executive director. I don't know. Right now, you have the chairperson of the committee as well. Maybe they're not satisfied. Maybe they have another vote, more discussions. Maybe it changes the vote. I think if you have the numbering system, the computers, and you input it that time, and that's it. That's the way that's done. But that's my preference. I would say to have a committee.
No influence. I can see, because if you're not using the computers, well, then again, anything can influence the outcome, couldn't it?
Right. And if you have the 13-person committee, you have to excuse yourself, Donna, recuse yourself from the process. If you're, for instance, your team is, let's say your team is Tennessee and you're a person on the committee, and you graduated for Tennessee or something, you're going to have to recuse yourself. So they do have some safeguards. Now, you're around all the people, but supposedly they keep telling us that everyone has integrity. You're not trying to influence the committee, even though you're on the committee and you're recusing yourself, but you're not trying to talk to the other people about your team or your conference. So that's been the agenda since day one. So I'm just going to rely on that. I could be naive about the situation, but I don't know. I think the committee, there's no absolutes in life, no perfection, but I think last year they made some good choices, interesting choices. They caused some displeasure, of course, controversy, but I think overall the committee made all the 12 teams that they granted a berth to the playoff system. I think it was correct.
Well, is the computer more of a, let's say, life happens kind of a situation, like another COVID or something like that happens? Would the computer be better, or is it better another committee?
Yeah, you still have that process if something like that ever occurs. And the Zoom, you always can meet, right? You always can communicate in this day and age. So I don't think that's any major stumbling block to have the committee meet in some form or fashion, even if they're not in the same room.
Mm-hmm. In some cases, it can turn political, and they could not be in the same room, so to speak.
Yeah, that we've seen that happen. We did have that in our lifetime, and so that has occurred. Yes, but I just believe the committee. I prefer the committee over the number myself.
Well, to me, it seems a little more personal. It seems a little more human.
Well, you can have some perspective, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How does it? A numbering system, and formulas and algorithms. I guess you can set it up where it does have a perspective, but I just like the human perspective more than an algorithm.
I think I do too. I like the human touch.
Yeah, and then live with it. Live with it. What can you do? Live with the decision. Yeah. These are people
I like the idea of people talking things out too, and not just what it spits out.
Yeah, I think that's the best way, because there could be circumstances, especially how do you put into an equation that we have a second string quarterback, let's say, because the first string quarterback was hurt. What do you do? Put in their stats and try to replicate and say, okay, this quarterback played the last 3 games and they won, but it's a second string quarterback. and we still should keep this team with the same ranking. We shouldn't drop that team because of a second string quarterback, let's say. Mm-hmm. So, but if you have that committee, you can discuss that factor and how that quarterback has played and led their team, mm-hmm. and how that person's been coached to be a competitive player. And like I say, they're all on scholarship, Donna, but people have these judgments. They want to make these judgments about quarterbacks and players when there's injuries. And my thing is, if you have a month to play the game, I'm going to give the coaching staff a chance to improve that person's performance. I'm not just going to be dismissive of the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. And I think that happened in the Florida State situation a couple of years ago. They were winning with their third string quarterback. And they were more of a team. They had a great defense down, good running game, good receivers. So I think the committee was wrong in dismissing. I mean, and of course, they played in the bowl game, and most of them didn't compete. And they lost by about 60 points. It was a nightmare. That was the worst bowl game I think I've ever watched. One of them anyway, ever watched. But I just think I'm not so dismissive, and I don't like the fact that they speak about mental health. Well, you were telling that young person who was the quarterback for that team, we don't have any confidence in you at all.
Yeah,
we have zero. Your team is undefeated, but we believe you're not worthy of being the starting quarterback and making a difference for your team, even though you have all that supporting cast, top level supporting cast around you. I thought that was unfair.
Well, see, I do too, and that's, because women think a little bit differently than men do for the most part, and that was the first thing I thought of. What are you telling them? This would be like, like raising my son. That would be. It just seems it's a negative content to me. It's negative.
Yeah, I didn't think that the committee had a good perspective on that team, Florida State. I mean, I know we're going back a couple of years, but that was a classic example of the committee had a chance to really review the circumstances and then apply that to their formula and come up with a decision. And they were just totally cast aside all the accomplishments of the other portions of the team beside the quarterback. They won games defensively. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they won running the football. Okay. And when you have receivers, very good receivers, which Florida State did at that time, mm-hmm. if you get them the ball, they're going to make the play. Okay. If the quarterback, you just get them the ball. It doesn't have, maybe you're not as good as your first string, second string quarterback. Yes, we understand. But you're on scholarship. They gave you a scholarship to play football at Florida State. You must have some ability to play the position. So I just thought that was very, very unfair, and it did take into consideration the coaching staff that would have a month with that quarterback to get them ready for a specific game plan, to run the plays that are conducive to that quarterback and the team being successful. But they thought otherwise, and they're the ones making the decisions.
Yeah. And lots of new decisions coming out in the future. Let's go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a minute.
Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show where truth matters. Thanks for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central. So I get to ride on with you in the afternoon. Continue watching on social media sites as well. If you want to pull up every single show that AP has been on, and all you think of is sports, okay, you can do that. Go to the search button on Facebook.com. Type in Donna Fiesel, AP Steadham. You'll pull up every show we've ever had. Thank you again, AP, for being with us. Boy, football has changed, hasn't it? It's nothing. I'm kind of for some of the changes, and then some of the changes I'm kind of kicking.
Right. Yeah, Donna. I think what happens, Donna, that you have all this transformation of the game of football into other sports and collegiate athletics, and you have the movement. It's the movement of players that I think is getting people upset in the mud. But once the game starts, Donna, in August, September, once they start, I think people will get into the groove and getting ready for that Friday, Saturday, Thursday event, whatever it may be, the day they play. And they'll concentrate on their team because at that point, the roster should be set for the season. So I think that all those other things that they were gnashing their teeth about or had some apprehension, they'll say, okay, well, this is our team. Oh, we like this player that transferred. We like this new quarterback. We like this new running back or new defensive back or new defensive linebacker. So I think that they'll cast aside all the things that were a distraction in the offseason, and they'll focus in on their team and their coach and the opponent. And I think they'll enjoy the season.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Because I mean, we got football in our blood. Living here in Abbeville, South Carolina, I'm just telling you, people here are as crazy about football as we were in Alabama. I mean, I'm talking Clemson and South Carolina. My goodness. One of the first questions somebody will ask you when you're a newbie here, okay, which football team are you going to root for?
Right. In South Carolina, they have a lot of hope this year, Donna, because Lenore Sellers is the quarterback that emerged, young quarterback. He should be getting better. I mean, that's the goal of all the players and the coaches. That's the mantra. Let's get better every day. But I think that Lenore Sellers, if he can be just as good and a little better that South Carolina is in a position to be one of those 12 teams to earn a berth. Now, it will not be easy, because they don't have an overwhelming level of talent that can just dominate a team week in and week out. But they can win ball games because they have a quarterback that's capable. And of course, we know that Clemson's going to be good because they recruit well across the country. But South Carolina, that was a surprising season, I believe. So now can they duplicate that and just get a little bit better?
Mm-hmm. Now knowing, let's get back to the SEC for just a second, because a lot of the questions are about the extra games and that kind of thing that are going to be played out. And so I thought Wendy came up with a pretty good question about this is supposed to be a pretty active hurricane season this year. But now they say that every year, okay? Every year we're expecting the apocalypse, but anyway, and it does look that way. So how will that affect the games when there are extra games being played?
Yeah, that's the call that the commissioners must decide, Donna, about the weather. So sometimes they end up moving the game to a different week, and maybe at the end of the season, possibly if they can squeeze it in, or they have to come up with some other plan. You have to be creative.
Extra games, so that's going to be a harder task.
Yeah, it's a harder task because, like you said, they're having these playoff games start early. I think it's between the 18th, 19th, 20th of December, that type of situation. Plus, you have the conference championship, the first week in December. So, how's that all going to work out? You're going to push the conference game back a week and then catch up by playing that game that was missed early in the season on the first week in December. Yeah, I'm sure they have some contingency plans. They should.
Something, the most hated job, or the person who's hated the most in the whole wide world of sports, is probably the umpire or the referee. I'm going to say now it could possibly be the folks who are making these decisions now, because you're not going to please everybody. Somebody's going to be mad.
Yeah, you have to live with your decisions, but hopefully the weather will cooperate at least on that Saturday. But if a place is devastated, that will affect some of the decisions as well, as we know.
Well, weather's always played a part, because you're in the South, whether you could have a tornado strike up at any time, and then up north, snow. So there's always a reason to gripe. You can't do. Who was it? Will Rogers said everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it.
Yeah, right. That's the situation, right? That's sure that's the situation. But
now, how are the coaches faring out?
Yeah, Donna, the SEC, they've had last season. Okay, this group of coaches, there was no change. We had Mississippi State with a new coach. We have some people on the hot seat. Brent Venables at Oklahoma, probably. Hugh Freeze maybe at Auburn. Alabama's coach, this is the second year. They're looking for better things from him.
Yeah.
Florida coach, he turned around the season that we thought it was going to be going south, because he has one of the most difficult schedules, but he made out just fine. So the coaches right now, it's stable at the moment. All the teams. Texas A&M had a new coach, did fairly well. Trying to think of Kentucky's coach has been there a long time. I think he's the dean of SEC coaches right now, I believe. Coach Stoops. And Vanderbilt had a turnaround season, was fabulous. They beat Alabama, was number one at the time. Ended up winning games in the SEC, which they had 0 wins the prior year in the conference. Won the bowl game, beat Georgia Tech, a team that took Georgia to, I think it was 8 overtime, some number like that. So the coaching staffs in the SEC are stable at the moment, but they're always on edge and they're always on notice because they're being paid a lot of money. And it means a lot for these schools to have their football programs win and participate in the playoffs and bowl games. So it's high pressure, but they understand this. It's like saying, we didn't know it was going to be sunny in September in the South. We know that it's going to be hot weather. So all these coaches know there's a lot of pressure they accepted the position and they make a lot of money. And that's part of the coaching profession.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, it would be difficult. Well, not difficult. It's just a new world. It's just a new world, changes. But, I think you got it right. I mean, once people start walking through the gates, they start walking in there and they get on the bleachers, it's going to be a different attitude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Don, just to go back to the coaches, for instance, we used to have a coach maybe have a 4 or 5 year contract. But now, Donna, in that second year, if you're not seeing some type of progress, that third year is a make or break if they give you the third year. Whereas before, they're going to let you have the 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But now they don't even care. They'll fire you after 2 years if they don't see any progress in that second year. Some presidents will be forced and pressured to fire the coach, and that's a new reality for the last within the last 10 years, maybe even shorter, that they'll make a decision after 2 years. Like 3 years is maybe the max. If we don't see anything in 3 years, you're out of there. We'll pay you the money. We'll tell you to walk. Take the money with you.
I'm glad you brought that up because last week someone asked a question about that. Do you see a change in contracts? Because they'll buy them out. It's not like a regular job where, I could go to work at XYZ company and not perform well and I'm gone. They're not going to pay me out. Do you see that changing?
Yeah, my thing is those buyouts, it's unbelievable how if I'm have a contract, okay, let's say the contract is for $5 million per year, that's probably above the average in college football, probably $5 million. 134 teams approximately FBS level, Division I level. Let's say you have a contract for 5 years. If you coach for 2 years and I'm paying you $10 million, that's $5 million per year. The contract's for 4 years. Mm-hmm. The buyout should be, in my opinion, $10 million. That's it. That's all it should be. Because there's no way I'm going to pay you some exorbitant number, 70 million, 75 million like they did at Texas A&M. I'm just going to have a contract that's a reasonable amount so you can recruit. So they can't say something about, well, you only got a 2-year contract and they're recruiting against you because your contract's only 2. I'm making the contract 4 years, maybe 5 years minimum, whatever that amount is, and I'm just going to pay you for the years you weren't coaching. But I'm not paying some exorbitant fee above and beyond. And I'm not making some 10-year, 12-year contract. I'm not doing it. And if you really want to walk away and you don't want to coach at my school, I don't want you. I wouldn't want you to coach there. It's not, no one's happy. You're not happy. We're not happy you're here. The players know right away that you don't want to be here because the word spreads like wildfire. So my thing is, for instance, Kirby Smart is in the range of about $13 million a year. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, they fired him. I don't know what that number is. I have no idea what that buyout is. It's got to be humongous now. But whatever that number is for a coach, I'm making, like I say, probably a 4-year minimum, definitely 4-year minimum, with a rollover possibility. So that means at the end of the first year, if I like to, fine, we'll roll it over. We'll make it another 4 years. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best scenario. But these coaches have agents and they throw that fear factor. We're going to walk. We're going to move on. You don't sign us long term. I say go ahead, because Don, in the SEC, there's so much money. Yeah, there's so much money, Don. There's so much money. Are you telling me that Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, with all that money, they can't find somebody that will accept that position? You're telling me if we lose this person, our football program, we're not going to have a coach? I don't think so. I mean, that's what they lead you to believe. I'm the only person that can win. Well, that's not true. We know that's not true.
I think
coaches come and go all the time.
It's ridiculous, AP, because, I mean, okay, you're failing. You're not living up to snuff. And I still got to pay you all that? That's nuts. Yeah. Okay, AP, we're going to have to call it a day. Man, time flew. Thank you so much for being with us. And you hang around, so we're going to have to get you set up for next week, too. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Continue sending those emails they make in the day. Absolutely. Donna at donnasedge.com. See you next time.